So here we are in the Mini Electric again. Now I have driven the electric on multiple occasions. Once when it first came out for about half an hour, and I've also driven it on a go-kart track against the normal petrol Cooper S. And if you want to see that video, click on the link in the top of the screen. And also, before we get into the real reason I'm driving this again, click in the top of the screen to get some more information on the electric through Rybrook. Now, why am I in this car again? Well, it's all well and good driving it on short occasions, but really you need to know what it's going to be like to live with, don't you? You need to know what electric is like, because it's such a big change from petrol. So I've been in this car now for a couple of days, and let me just tell you what this car is. So this is a Mini Electric Level 3. Level 3 being the highest, so we've got all sorts of equipment in here. So we've got a heads-up display, we've got the big professional media, we've got a reversing camera, we've got a lovely sunroof, Harman Kardon sound system. Basically, everything you can get on a Mini is in this car. So it's a lovely spec, and these lounge seats with this leather, beautiful. So let's get the figures out of the way again quickly in case you've forgotten. 145 miles on the WLTP cycle, and 182 horsepower, which is just as much as the petrol Cooper S, but as we've established before, this is fast around the track. But that's all irrelevant, isn't it, when you're out on the normal road? So what's it like to drive? Well, over the last few days, I've done about 100 miles on this, so not a massive amount. But these sort of cars aren't going to be driven massive, long motorway journeys, are they? So what I've been using this for is just to potter around town, which is what the car's made for. And it's so good, I think, as a city car. These things will be epic in cities. I mean, I don't live in a city. This is a town, if you can even call it a town. But this in the middle of London, in the middle of Birmingham, where it's all built up, you've got congestion charge in London, this thing's going to be mega. Firstly, because of the instant pick up and go from the electric motors and the batteries. And then when you do come to a halt, you're kind of reminded that it's electric. Most of the time, I'll be completely honest, this just feels like a Mini, which is great because Minis drive superbly. It's when you come to a complete stop that you really get the sense that there's nothing here. It's just batteries, it's completely dead quiet. It's quite nice, actually. Now, when you are on the move, you do get a little bit of tyre noise, you get a little bit of wind noise, which is what's to be expected. You wouldn't want a car to be deathly silent, would you? Because you'd think it was broken. It holds the road incredibly well when you're driving around town. And I keep coming back to it, the instant pickup from an electric car. So you're at a roundabout, you want to exploit a gap really quickly, you hit the throttle, and it's gone. There's no lag. You're not waiting for a gearbox to engage. You're not waiting for a petrol engine to spool up or turbos. You literally, the moment you touch that throttle, you've got all the power and all of the torque available. It's just, it's gone, just like that. But the thing I will keep coming back to with this car is just how much like a Mini it feels. Like when it first came out, electric cars, you never really know what to expect until you've driven them. And like, for example, the BMW i3, it drives differently to a normal BMW. Not that that's a bad thing, but you know it's electric. Whereas this, most of the time it feels like a Mini, just like a go-kart a lot of the time, especially when you put your foot down. You've got the Regen Brakes. Now I need to mention the Regen Brakes. So what they are, firstly, is when you lift off the accelerator, the car can slow itself down. And while it's doing that, it's pumping electric back into the batteries. But you can have a choice whether you have the Regen Brakes or you don't. There's a little button just down on the dash here. So if you didn't want them, if they were a little bit intrusive, you can turn them off, which you can't do in the i3. So you've got a choice in this car. Now, what about practicality? Well, coming up now is how much stuff I was able to get in this car. With the seats up, you can get a stepladder, a toolbox, a plastic heron, a budder, a parrot umbrella, and a homegrown butternut squash. With the seats down, all the same, plus a hoover, a broom, a hedge trimmer, some fat balls, a blanket, and a dog called Poppy. So there we go, there's the practicality side of it. It's actually not as bad as you'd expect. It's a Mini, it's supposed to be small, isn't it? But what about charging the car? Well, firstly, you get, as standard with the electric, a 3-pin plug, which you can plug in at your house, plug straight into the car. So that can roughly take between 10 and 13 hours, depending on your supplier, depending on how quickly your electricity, the current and so on. Now that sounds like a lot, I know, but when you get home at night, plug the car in, by the time you go back to it in the morning, it's going to be charged, isn't it? So you're not going to notice that charging time. Or you can take it to a public charging point. There are over 7,000 public chargers in the UK, and you can find them either using the in-car satellite navigation or by using ZapMap, which will show you the types and whether the charging stations are available or not. So what's the final verdict then on the Mini Electric now that I've driven it in pretty much every single scenario that you can put it in? Well, it just feels like a Mini. It feels like a completely standard Mini with all of the kit on it, which is a very positive thing. It doesn't feel different, doesn't feel strange, it feels familiar. It's brilliant. It's a wicked little car. And if you only need to cover short distances, if you only ever cover short mileage in a car, then this car will save you a lot of money in fuel. And you're saving the environment. See that tree over there? Yeah, it's definitely smiling at me as I'm driving past in pure electric mode. Now, thank you guys ever so much for watching. Do please hit the like button and subscribe to Rybrook TV for plenty more content to come. And I will catch you next time.